Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Dungeons and Garden podcast. I'm Nathan, and I'm here with my wife Mia.
Hello. If you're new here on this podcast, we share our daily highs and lows. This is not by any means a highlight reel, but a space where we talk about the realities of navigating marriage, faith, and our life together with God's guidance every step of the way.
Yeah, and today we're going to be diving into a real struggle in marriage, and that is loving your spouse well, even when you're upset.
With them.
Right, upset with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's start with that. It's real easy to be, affectionate, thoughtful, that's, the best husband or the best wife in the world when everything's good. Mm-hmm. But, it's a lot harder when you're frustrated. It's a lot harder when you just don't feel like it.
Yeah, so we're going to break it down into 3 areas. As we do, we'll talk about why emotions shouldn't dictate our actions in marriage, how to communicate when you need space without stonewalling, and some practical ways to show love even when you don't feel like it.
Yeah, so let's get into it.
Okay, well, it's natural to have emotions in marriage. We all have feelings, but our feelings should never dictate our faithfulness. So I can't just stop cooking or stop cleaning because I have an attitude with Nathan. And Nathan can't just not come home on time or check out emotionally, right? Because marriage means showing up even when you don't feel like it. And we talked about, in our faith, how we should have obedience over our feelings. That was episode 30. So if you guys want to go back and check that out, that's a little bit more faith-based, whereas now we're kind of applying it to how your obedience as a spouse does trump your feelings.
Exactly. This reminds me of 1 Corinthians, the famous love passage. It says, love is patient, love is kind, it's not easily angered, and it keeps no records of wrongs. It doesn't say, love only serves dinner when you're in a good mood. Mm-hmm. Or, love only comes home on time when it feels like it.
Right. And I think a lot of couples fall into that mindset of treating marriage like a contract that is so conditional instead of a covenant. Right. Well, you upset me, so I'm going to withhold love. I'm going to withhold affection. I'm going to withhold my duties. And that's just not love. That is transactional. And we learned about the difference between a contractual relationship and a covenant relationship at Weekend to Remember. So I don't know if we talked about that on the podcast. We might have to do a separate podcast on that. But there are very significant differences between contracts and covenants.
Right. And I just want to stop right here and just really make it really super clear to everybody. We're not saying, if your spouse is abusing you, or, you're in a relationship with an addict or something like that, hey, you have to do these things. What we're saying is,
the normal everyday relationships, the normal you forgot to take out the trash and I had an attitude, that now doesn't mean, you didn't take out the trash, so I'm not gonna give you a kiss when you come home, or I'm not gonna cook you dinner, or I'm not gonna do your laundry, or whatever it is, kind of that tit for tat, transactional mindset with little things.
Right, what we're saying is we don't just shove our feelings deep down and ignore them. There's a way to communicate that when we need space, and especially without shutting our spouse out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what helps is having pre-agreed expectations. Yeah. If I'm overwhelmed and I need 15 minutes alone, I can say, I love you, I'm processing, give me some time, I'll check in. Probably if I'm annoyed, I won't say any of that. I'll just walk away. And we have already discussed, if I walk away, give me at least 5 minutes, probably 15 minutes, then come find me or come try and have a conversation with me, but no sooner than that 5-minute mark. And that kind of just helps with making that silence predictable instead of are you coming back? Are you gonna speak to me? And if it goes over that 15-minute mark, you do have to then be intentional about hey, I'm still dealing with this, or hey, I'm still frustrated, especially if 15 minutes is something you've already talked about and then now it's been half an hour. You do gotta have to say something.
Right. And like we said, it has to be pre-discussed. It has to be pre-agreed upon, because just walking away in the middle of a conversation or in the middle of an argument sounds a lot like stonewalling. We talked about that in episode 6, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Stonewalling was definitely out there. It was one of them,
Right.
One person's left in the dark while the other person is emotionally just checked out. Mm-hmm. It's a recipe for disaster. Proverbs 15 says, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Mm-hmm. Like you said, a simple, hey, I need a minute is so much greater and goes so much further than the eye roll and a cold shoulder, a walk away and a huff. Like, it speaks volumes.
Yeah, I mean, and on the flip side, if your spouse asks for space, don't chase them around. Don't demand a resolution immediately. I know that depends on how we're raised, how we handle conflict.
Absolutely.
But as you grow in a relationship together, you do kind of have to learn each other and give each other room. But also, like we said, agree on a set amount of time where you are going to come back together, where you are going to resolve the issue. So it's not something that just goes unresolved.
Right. Like, if I come home frustrated from work, I could say, like, hey, babe, like, I had a really rough day. Mm-hmm. Let me decompress for, like, 20 minutes. Then I'll be fully present. I'll give you, all the attention you need.
Yeah.
That keeps me from being, passive-aggressive, short, just angry.
Right. On that train, let's talk about some practical ways that we can love each other even when we don't feel like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that helped me is focusing on what I know is true. Not just how I feel in the moment.
That's good.
I might be annoyed, but I know I love Mia. So, like, I make her tea in the morning. I still give her a kiss before I leave. Like, these are just the little ways that I show her I love her.
Yeah, it's the small acts of service that go a long way. The things that you do every day. Like you're saying, we have that routine of before you go to work, before you leave, you give me a kiss or whatever. And if you're annoyed or have an attitude and you break that routine, that is like, that screams like, I don't love you, I don't care about you. Now You're arguing all day, and then you want to be good because ultimately, like you're saying, you love this person, this is your spouse, like you want to be good, but it's when you do those little things like switching up, neglecting each other, not loving each other, that's when things escalate and become problems. So, if you are upset, it doesn't mean I'm going to stop loving on you. I'm going to stop acting the way that I act. I'm going to stop helping you. There are other ways to communicate that, to relay that without, neglecting or switching up.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm just going to call it out what it is. Like, I think it's petty.
Yeah.
Like, if your goal right now is like, hey, like, I'm upset.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let them know I'm upset with them by not giving them a kiss.
Yeah.
Or not telling them goodbye.
Yeah.
What is that ultimately serving?
Yeah.
Like, it's not helping you. It's not furthering your relationship at all. If anything, like you said, like, we're just going to end up fighting all day because I broke the routine.
Yeah.
Like, Ephesians 4 says, don't let the sun go down on while we're still angry. Even if the issue isn't, like, fully resolved, at least we can close the day with love. Yeah. Like, pray together, say goodnight, and do that with, like, kindness and commit to working through it. Like, maybe at a later date, like, hey, baby, like, I was really upset with you today. I don't feel like this is resolved, but it's late. Let's go to bed. I love you. We can talk about this tomorrow. And set a time.
Yeah. It's definitely about having a time where you're going to come back together, but the enemy loves nothing more than to disconnect us in our marriages, to drive a wedge between us. But like you're saying, the more that we choose our love over pride, the harder it is for bitterness and for the enemy to get that foothold in our heart. And it is the affection and intimacy, like holding hands, kissing each other, hugging each other, even when we're annoyed, that can actually soften our heart towards each other. I know some people advocate for like having sex or like arguing naked. Yeah, right. We're not at that level, but if that works for you, like it is a way that we can conquer the enemy and stay united and fight against that disconnection, because like you're saying, at the end of the day, we are on the same team. And for us recently, it's been humor.
Yeah, absolutely. Humor goes a long way, but it's got to be the right type of humor.
Yeah.
Like, if your wife is mad at you because, like, you did something that, like, broke her trust, not the best time to start joking.
Yeah,
laughing.
Humor can be a fine line.
Right.
But, and it took us a long time to get to this point, but I feel like now we're kind of at the point where, like, you'll say something like, what the heck? Or, like, you'll say something and then just start laughing at, like, how ridiculous I'm being. Or I'll, like, laugh at, like, how ridiculous you're being. And I'll say sometimes, like, I don't want to laugh. Stop laughing. But then we're laughing, and, like, you really can't be mad when you're, like...
When you're laughing.
Yeah, like when you're crying.
It settles a lot of arguments. But it's like I said, it's got to be the right kind of humor. It's got to be the right kind of
that's something we've like worked into, which absolutely. I like now.
Yeah, we didn't just fall into that.
Yeah.
So let's wrap this up because we're kind of hitting our time limit. If this episode encouraged you, let us know.
Yeah, leave a comment, leave a review, depending on where you're listening. And if you know a couple who needs to hear this, be sure to send it their way.
Right. So thank you guys for listening to the Desert and Garden podcast. Until next time, walk in love.
Live with purpose.
And trust God in every desert and garden.
See ya.